Hi, I'm Sam and welcome back to the channel. In my last video, I talked a little bit about how I have tried everything to overcome some reoccurring and chronic health conditions that I've had, symptoms that I've had, like gut issues and fatigue and squeaky joints, painful joints, and hair loss, and other things. And today I'm going to give a little bit of context about what that has looked like in my life. So we're going to go through my journey of the last 10 years or so, which I think will just show you that I am a participant and I'm experimenting on myself. And I found a lot of tools that have helped me a lot, and I've done a lot of research, and I found a lot of things that haven't helped me so much. So let's just dive in. We're going to start from when I was living in Atlanta, Georgia, around 2014, 15, 16. And I was working a pretty big corporate job. My career has been as the music expert for brands in their working on their advertising. And so I was working in this big company in Atlanta, Georgia, and I was living a really parasympathetic lifestyle, I would say. So I was staying up kind of late, jumping out of bed in the morning, the latest I could to get to the office, running to the office, working a full day, going straight to the gym for CrossFit, a very high intensity workout. I was very sociable, so would go out to drinks with friends after work or dinners, or I had a lot going on, and I wasn't really balancing all of the sympathetic, the action oriented, the go 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 of my life with rest and listening to myself and my body and being still. And so while those things in my life, traveling a lot for work and for fun, and being sociable and getting in good workouts, are all really good things for our lives. They really need to be balanced with something else. So I think that partially living that lifestyle is what had me to start feeling, just like in the beginning, it was kind of just icky, like stomach stuff going on. I was really watching my food and stuff at that time because I was working out, and I would do, high protein foods and lots of good nutrient dense foods. But maybe my body didn't need nutrient dense foods. I don't know. But so I first started going to see a nutritionist who works with kinesiology and muscle testing. So she would put supplements, and mainly supplements that had like beef liver and things like that in them, that were very nutrient dense, that were meant to feed my organs and feed my system so that they could rejuvenate themselves and be working more efficiently and effectively. So she would like put supplements in my hand and test my muscles to see if I felt strong with that supplement in my hand or not. That was kind of one of my first forays into this world of really feeding my body to have it heal itself and work on. Our bodies are strong and wise and can take care of themselves, and I just needed to support that. And that was kind of one of the first places where I started getting into that mindset. Um, yeah, and then in the middle of 2016, I left my job at this big corporation and started a business with 4 business partners. And, while that was very exciting, it was also like, I didn't know, I was 31, and to me that was kind of young to start a business. And I knew that I wanted to be an entrepreneur, but I didn't know it was going to come so quickly. But the opportunity kind of presented itself, and it was meant for me to, take it and run with it. And so while that was very exciting, it was stressful in certain ways. And I'll talk about stress, and I think, we know stress, we talk about stress a lot of the time to mean something negatively, emotionally stressful. But there's a lot of really good stress, as well, like CrossFit, which, I was strong at that time, and obviously getting great workouts in. But it stresses your body as well. So again, we need to balance our stresses, good or bad, with rest and recovery. So I was starting a new business, and 6 months into starting the business in the US, I moved to Mexico, which opened up a whole new world of changes for me. I was looking for new clients in Mexico. I was, I had new water and new food and new environment. It was, it's a pretty contaminated city. I'm sure Atlanta's not much better, but different contaminants. Very high in altitude. Mexico City is very high in altitude. And I think all of those things, along with kind of the stress and pushing myself to build this new business, were probably weighing on my immune system and my digestive system. And over time, the symptoms that I had just kind of compartmentalized as like, this is my health over here. I'm working on my health. We kind of talk like that, like as if our health is this one separate area of our lives, and then our work life, and then our family life, and then, but it's all one, right? If I'm not feeling well, then it's going to show up in all other areas of my life. So, but at this time, my health was still, or like, not feeling well. I was kind of like working on my health over here. And then pushing through the days to perform in the rest of my life with my business and with learning a new language and meeting new people and learning a new city. Again, all stressors, very exciting stressors, and I adored my time living in Mexico City. But nonetheless, they need to be balanced again with some true rest and regeneration, which I wasn't prioritizing. And in fact, I would say all of that time, yes, I was living kind of this masculine energy, if you will. I'll talk about that quite a bit, kind of masculine energies and feminine energies. And, the masculine kind of energies are very action oriented and pushing and drive and having, motivation and like pushing yourself to do it, even when maybe you don't feel like doing it. And I think, a lot of us who grew up in the US especially, we grew up with that mindset as a positive mindset. You get things done, you make life happen by being, strong and action oriented and do, right? So I was really living that lifestyle. And as my stomach started hurting more, I remember not really having an appetite much a lot of the time I lived in Mexico City. My hair started thinning. I don't remember like being freaked out about clumps of hair falling out in the shower or anything, but I do, especially even when I look back at photos now, I notice that my hair was just like, kind of wispy, and like I cut my hair short then for the first time in a really long time. And maybe part of it was because it was kind of thinning. And I kind of just chalked it all up to the contamination of a big city and the high altitude, and different water and things like that. And there in Mexico City, I found a Mayan. He came from Mayan traditions, but a man who was a chiropractor, and also brought in some of the kind of Mayan traditions of helping people be well or healing themselves. And one of the things was juice. So I was drinking quite a lot of juice. He gave me some specific juices to drink at different times of the day. And fortunately, Mexico City is a really great place for that because they have amazing produce that is from, close by and very inexpensive. And juice is a whole thing in the Mexican culture. And so I had a juice guy who would make all my juices, like 4 or 5 juices for the day, and deliver them fresh to my house in the mornings. And so I'd just have them in the fridge, and then he'd come back the next day. And that was one of the first times, that was really probably the first time that I was really using nature to strengthen my system. And so That was in early 2017, and I was kind of working on my health. I don't recall it like getting much better, but it also wasn't debilitating or keeping me out of doing what I wanted to do. I just simply didn't feel that well when I was doing most of the things that I was doing. In early 2019, I moved to Playa del Carmen, Mexico, which is on the Caribbean. It's hot and humid, it's the jungle. So, a very different environment than Mexico City. And so, again, I had new environmental stressors, if you will, of moving to this new place. At this time, I had left my company with my business partners and I had started my own company just by myself. And during those years, those first years of my own business, running my own business, I worked on some of the coolest and most complex and biggest kind of music centric advertising projects in Mexico in those years. And it was really fun. I mean, it was great. It was really great, and it was a lot because I was coming up against my own. You can't hide in your own business, so I was constantly looking at myself, doing the work, and wanting to be the best I could be. And yeah, it was a really special time, and I grew a lot in that time. But when I got to Playa, my like where I was with my health needed to become a part of my life. And it did. It was kind of forced to become a part of my life because the symptoms that I had been having, lightly in the US and then very much so, more so in Mexico City, very much became, impacting my day to day. So crazy fatigue. I would sleep a lot of hours and take naps after lunch. My like a lot of inflammation, like my belly like stuck out. I was losing hair, more hair. I had circles under my eyes. I look back on photos now, I just looked like kind of dragged down. Um, and joint pain for sure, and emotional stuff too. So now, of course, we talk about now like the gut brain axis, and certainly things that were going on in my um, like whatever was going on in my gut was impacting my emotional state. And yeah, that was a beautiful time of my life, but it was very the symptoms were pretty intense. um, I found acupuncture, which was one of the first things that once the symptoms were kind of part of my day-to-day life, acupuncture was the first thing that really helped. And I could feel when when the acupuncturist would put needles in me, that I could feel things beginning to flow that had been stuck, which is interesting to me. Yeah, and so I really got some symptom relief there. Things got better, not completely better, but better. And the second thing was biomagnetism, where they use it's a fairly similar, from what I understand, fairly similar kind of theory to acupuncture, but they're using magnets and putting magnets on your body. And sometimes I would he put like with acupuncture at least, he put like a needle right here, and I would just start crying. Like or here, like they'll touch parts of your body that need releasing, and you could feel a release. So acupuncture and biomagnetism really helped me early on. That was like 2019. Um, let's see. And I explored a lot of other modalities during that time as well. Primarily, I would say, I was doing a lot of diet stuff at the time. I think, growing up in the U.S., maybe it's not just the U.S., but um, a lot of what we are told about how you can work on your health and being a healthier person is through diet, right? So I was looking at my diet, and I would try elimination diets of like no gluten for a while, no dairy for a while. I was making like all of the sauces and stuff. I wouldn't eat any like sauces from the grocery store or anything. I would make them all myself. I was like almost vegan for a while. I think maybe like I would eat eggs, but everything else was completely vegan, and a variety of things. And I didn't really pinpoint anything that seemed to be making a difference. FODMAP diet, I did the Whole30. I did a lot of stuff around with the medical medium, the heavy metal detox, which was great, and celery juice. I would do 32 ounces of celery juice in the morning. I would squeeze it myself, or juice it myself. And then a couple years later, I was separating from my partner of the time, and that's when my symptoms were at their lowest. And of course, looking back now, I see how I wasn't fully taking care of myself emotionally, and that was causing, that was impacting my physical health, and vice versa. My physical health was impacting my emotional state, I think. When I moved out of my old house and I moved into a new apartment, within like 7 days, 10 days, excuse me. Oh, I had been itching. I had an itchy arm, and it still comes back every once in a while, but my forearm here was itching like you wouldn't believe. And it was the worst when I was moving into my new apartment. And within 7 to 10 days of moving into the apartment, all of my symptoms were gone. I mean, all of them. Like, I had a flatter stomach than I've had in years. The itching on my arm was completely gone. Over time, I was noticing that my hair was seemed thicker and was shinier. I was sleeping better. My libido was coming back. It was wild. And I mean, it was like a switch from within like 48 hours, like everything changed. It was really bizarre. Now I look back and I'm like, okay, well, one thing was that I was mending a broken heart. And I think maybe my spirit was giving my body a break so that it could, or, like my body was giving me my spirit a break so that I could work on, recovering myself and my life force. And so it kind of let up on the physical symptoms. The other thing is that I had a copper IUD, a non-hormonal copper IUD, for 5 years, and I got it out the same week that I moved into my new apartment. And I had that IUD for 5 years, and I never even, because it wasn't a hormonal IUD, it wasn't giving me artificial hormones or synthetic hormones, I just never even really considered it potentially being the cause of any of my symptoms. And I will say, ladies, if you are using birth control, it is a hormonal birth control, it is affecting you. It is affecting our bodies. And maybe in ways that don't seem as direct as you might think. If you're using non-hormonal birth control like a copper IUD, it also very well could be impacting you. So I just say that we'll do a whole episode on that, but I'm just saying all of that to say, don't rule out, or don't completely, like, you have to consider that if you're having symptoms, that could be part of it. So yeah, I went a whole year with no symptoms. I was going to the gym, and I was going to the beach, and I was like feeling myself. I was like, I had my vitality back. And I mean, listen, I was mending a broken heart, so I wasn't happy all the time per se. And actually, it was very, very difficult for me in a lot of ways. But my physical body, like I would just get up and get out of bed and go for a long walk every morning instead of dragging around. Like I had the energy that I hadn't had for years before that. So I got to spend a year reminding myself of what it's like to have this vessel that's working well enough for me to get to, go out and live life, live in the world. I spent a couple months in Spain that summer, a couple months in the U.S. And after my travels, I came back to Playa. It had been about a year since the symptoms had stopped, and they slowly started creeping back in. Yeah, when I was in Playa. And Playa del Carmen is a very powerful place. It's known that like people end up coming to Playa in order to grow in this huge way, and it will bring out the things that there are for you to deal with and overcome. So I'm so grateful for Playa for that. I lived there for 6.5 years. And so it brought out a lot of things, and there was a lot of growth that happened there. Anyway, so I got back, and the symptoms started coming in. But since I had had this year of reminder of what life could be like when my vessel is working well, I was like, I'm gonna, like, this is it. I'm gonna fix myself. And I went about it at this very, again, like the way that I knew, which was being proactive and taking action, to doing all the research, being very committed to all the protocols I was doing, because I kept thinking, I'm not gonna, the way I would choose to take on a protocol or a therapy was, what if this is the one thing that, heals me? And we'll talk a little bit about the mindset thing by the end, but I thought like maybe this would be the thing that heals me, right? So I read the book by Dr. Michael Ruscio about, he's a functional medicine doctor who specializes in gut, healing the gut. I read his book and I did his full protocol with all of his supplements. I did ozone therapy. I did juice therapy, which was very helpful. I loved that. I did energetic reprogramming, which is like going into the Akashic records and clearing out old traumas and karma that you're carrying with you. Also very helpful. I did some biodecoding, kind of in that same world. So I was doing like spiritual stuff because I knew that my spirit was growing very quickly and it was very uncomfortable. And I was also doing physical stuff, or like physical therapies. I did more biomagnetism, a lot more acupuncture. I took zeolite for heavy metal detoxing. I had already done the heavy metal detox with medical medium. I took for 6 months, I did peptides for regenerating. They're like hydrolyzed proteins, which is basically in order, like you take them for different organs, and what they do is feed your organs and help to regenerate your organs so that they work better. So I did that for 6 months. I think that helped. I did with Dr. Ruscio's, like, part of what his whole thing is, he has something called elemental heal. So I went for 11 days of not eating solid food, but just drinking his elemental heal to heal my gut lining, oil my digestive system. When we give our digestive systems a break through intermittent fasting or fasting of different sorts, which was kind of what this was, of not eating for several days, but I was getting calories from the product Elemental Heal. It allows our bodies to not put so much work into the digestion and instead be able to heal our bodies. So I did that. And then I did a parasite cleanse. And in Mexico and in a lot of parts of the world, it's very known that we have bugs in our systems. Like, you have parasites. I know people are going to see this and they're going to try to tell me that they don't have parasites, but you do. Okay? We're just going to have to come to terms with that. But it's fine. Like, we live, we're part of nature. We're part of this world, and bugs are part of us. So I did a parasite cleanse, which with a doctor, a somatic therapist, and an MD. And y'all, my body let go of some stuff. I excreted a variety of types of parasites over several days, and also candida cultures. And that was just like, I releasing things from my body. Now it just makes so much sense. And I can remember, like, there was a whole, like there was something going on in my body, like basically the bugs were dying, and then I was able to release them and I felt much better. I did another one, like, let's just fast forward to like a year maybe after that or so, and I was feeling much better already. So anyway, later I did another parasite cleanse because I had gone to the US for a few months. I was on my way to Europe, to Portugal, and I remember being in Chicago and just being like, feeling like super bloated and not hungry and like just very full, like, and I knew that I needed to release some things. And at the time, I didn't know much about other types of flushes or other ways to help me move things out of my body, except for the parasite cleansing, because I had done that. So I went to CVS, and the only over-the-counter parasite medication that I know of, at least, or that I could find in the US that I really didn't know anything about, except, Google at the time. It was pre-Claude, but Google at the time told me about it, was a pinworm medication. So I took that on the plane with me, and I did it when I got to Portugal. And guys, again, I released some things, and I immediately felt so much better. So the parasite cleansing did some huge things for me. Like, I could feel, if you feel like you're always heavy, bloated, puffy, especially in your abdomen, you're not hungry that much, or you'll eat a little bit, like you can tell that you're hungry, but you still feel really bloated, and you'll go and eat a little bit, and then you're just like, I'm like already so full, and like, look at my big stomach. Yeah, it's parasites. And so what I was able to do, and what I've done now after that as well with the parasite cleansing and then enemas, is to release so much of what the heaviness that is in our bodies, these toxins that our body needs to release. So that was a couple years ago, and just I have tried a lot of other things too. Don't worry, we'll talk about it all. But the last thing that I will share is that last fall, about 9 months ago, I went to this herbalist I had never been to in Playa del Carmen. I was just back. I had moved to France, and I was back visiting in Playa del Carmen, and I went to the herbalist, and it was this whole store, like a very unassuming consultorio, like, with just like a small little spot, but filled with bags of roots and leaves and barks from trees and plants, and they make you concoctions, little bags of concoctions of herbs. And they do a consult. You can't even make an appointment even if you want to. You just go up and you do a consult with them. And they were like, yeah, you kind of need to clean out your system. So you're going to do this detox um, with tea for like 4 weeks, and then you're going to do a detox of your reproductive system. And it all came together. All of the things, all of the work, all of what I had been doing for years and thinking about the things that actually seemed to make a difference for me. It all came together in that store amongst the bark and leaves that throughout time, in traditions all over the world, humans have had regular ways to release and move things through their bodies. You can call it cleansing or purification or movement or detox, fasting, whatever you want to call it. But we've been using teas and fasting and purging and detox, like with plant medicines, the spices and herbs of the spice trade from India. We've been doing this forever, and now more than ever, we have heavy things in our environments and in the products that we use every day that are weighing us down and slowing down our systems and causing chronic density in our bodies. And so by finding these tools that help move things through our system, supporting our whole system that is supposed to be mobile, that's supposed to promote motility and have things move through us and detoxify our bodies efficiently, by supporting those systems through the things that nature has given us that we've been using for thousands of years, that is how we be well. So yeah, that has been very powerful for me, and it's impacted everything that I've done ever since then. So that's been 9 months ago, and it's brought up why I wanted to start this channel. And so we'll explore what this new, at least for me, this new framework looks like, and how we can start to see our own health and well-being in this way of keeping things moving and unstucking ourselves. So that's my story up to now. I'm going to stop there. We'll, of course, unfold lots of other pieces of it as we go through the channel. I'm really excited to be here and to share what I've been digging into over so many years and kind of nerding out with you on health and wellness, and have as many of us feel well and have the vitality that we desire to live our best lives. So thanks for being here, and I'll see you in the next video.